Couple crashes I wanted to bring up, and you've covered these plenty of times before, but the first one being the all-tel car crash
Watkins Glen.
where the brakes give out. What do you remember from that?
Cars, you crash often, and some are gonna be bad, but that's really the first time when I just thought it was over and kind of went limp in the car. And thankfully I did, because preparing for the impact and lowering my head as I did and going limp was the best thing for me. This crash took place before soft walls were mandatory and before we had any of the mandatory restraint systems in the car to prevent a basal skull fracture, which is the injury that killed 5 drivers, and the 5th being Dale Earnhardt Sr.
What do you remember thinking it's happening?
And then I knew the racetrack went to the right, and I tried to make the turn, and I was into the grass and lost control of the car at that point. And I had no brakes. When I went to slow the car down, the brake pedal went to the floor. I had brake failure. And 150 miles an hour with no brakes. And on my way flying into those foam barriers, I thought the foam was concrete. And that's what led to me going limp in the car. And thankfully, it was a series of soft walls, and I was able to walk away from that crash.
The Baja 1000.
Yes.
And you lose control of your truck.
Baja was a wild experience because I literally woke up crashing. Sounds crazy, but
What do you mean?
I fell asleep. It's probably 3 or 4 in the morning. Been in this rough terrain, bouncing around, easy to stay awake. Finally got onto a smooth road and nice long straightaway, and I just got too comfortable and nodded off. And I woke up just before I went off the road, and there was a sharp 90-degree turn, and tried to hit the brakes, went straight off the road, and as I was going off the road, there was a huge boulder, and I hit this boulder, and the vehicle went straight up into the air, and I can recall seeing the headlights just shooting into the darkness, and I had no idea what I was gonna land on, and I was just coming out of a mountain range, how far I was gonna fall, and thankfully it was just a steep embankment, and tumbled off into the darkness out there.
What do you remember thinking about out there? Because you were out there for a while.
It was probably a full day before we had the truck onto a trailer to take it away. What's wild is this is a 95, so communications weren't like they are today. And then the team itself has vehicles that leapfrog the race truck going down the race course. Just in case you're not in radio communication, they can keep up with you. My chase truck, as it's called, got into a fender bender in a small little Mexican town, and my chase crew was arrested and put in jail. So
Really?
When I crashed, the vehicle that was supposed to find me, those guys are busy emptying their pockets and giving away everything they could to get out of jail.
And I don't know if more was made of this than that actually existed, but it caused you to reflect on kind of what you wanted to do?
I knew going into that race that my job was in question the next year. And here I am again with a totaled race truck, almost killed my co-rider. The crash, all the impact was on his side. And I had, give it a day to sit there and think about the aggression I had, and I was gonna be out of a job.
How well do you remember the embrace with your dad after that, when you guys met back up?
It was huge, and he told me before the race, he had a dream, be careful. I'm like, you're crazy. And as I was sitting there in the darkness, vehicles would come by and I would stop them. Hey, we've crashed, we're fine. My dad's in the next pit, and everybody knew my dad. Please tell him I'm okay. And it was 60 miles away, they all forgot to tell my dad. So as I don't arrive, my dad knew this mountain range, knew that I've been in a crash. No one is reporting anything. Communication's so minimal. And he had to sit there with all of that for a long, long time. So when I saw him, there was a big embrace.
Do you remember what he said?
No, I remember tears, and I don't see tears very often with him.
And from you too, right?
Oh yeah. No, I was hanging on. And yeah, I had tears as well, but I'll never forget his face walking up to him and just seeing the relief, And what's wild is I see him and I'm running to him. It's like, once again, Dad's right. Like, parents are always right. You never want to admit it when you're a teenager, but he was right.